Okay, so now just to continue on where we left off before, I think what I was doing was working on this kind of blood splat particle effect here, which splats the blood on the back of the scene and then also um, sort of sprays out these bones and things. So I did a couple of updates just off camera. One of them is I changed the camera in the scene to white, and I think partly is the reason is because of that is because these blood spots are going to be a kind of major feature of the game, and it's going to be on screenshots, and it's going to be something that you know should catch the attention of a lot of people. So that's why I wanted to make this white. So that might work well. As you can see, I've also changed the character so that it's using black squares with grey arms. So that should obviously that's going to make it a lot clearer for the player to see on a white background. The other thing that I did as well is I've updated this body splats part as well. And what I've included is a splat sound, which I'll show you now. Actually, you can hear it. There you go. So it's kind of like a fruit squash sound, and that's from a website called I think it's called freesound.org or freesoundproject.org. But if you're in game development or sound development, check out the website. Fantastic, really good. It's a lot of free sounds on there, and all you have to do is kind of mention the person who did the sound, put them in your game somewhere, or credit in a credit screen, something like that. So it's a very cool website. Definitely check it out. So let's just see how this looks and sounds at the moment. Okay, that's fine. So if I shoot this guy, okay, yeah, it explodes, and that's pretty much right. The sounds felt a little bit delayed then from when I shot, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a gunshot sound, which is this one I've just downloaded. My Unity is being a little bit slow again. Okay, there we go. And these are two rifle sounds. These are pretty good. I hope that's not too loud for everyone. I hope it's not just killed. I actually prefer the second one. And as you can see on the second one here, it starts exactly when the file starts. There's no delay time. So that's actually really good. And we could, of course, edit the WAV file. We could change it so it just starts exactly on the start of the file. But I like the second one anyway. So what we want to do is I want to add that gunshot sound so when the player taps on the screen, or in this case, as we're testing on the Mac right now, is when I click the spacebar. So I think it was inside the crosshairs object, and yeah, okay. So before I was using this laser bullet sound, but I don't want to use that one. I want to use this one. I'm just going to drag it in there, and I think yeah. So I need to just change this to compressed MPEG. Turn it off 3D sound. Okay, that's 65 megabytes. That's 65 kilobytes. Jeez, not 65 megabytes. I'll reduce it down a little bit. It should be okay. Because what we always want to do inside of the iPhone App Store in particular is we want it to be under 20 megabytes so that people can download over a 3G network. Therefore, more downloads, and just the fact that it's smaller, people are more likely to download it because they don't take up as much space on their device. Okay. Alright. The sound to me sounds a little bit delayed right now, and I think that's just because I'm running the recording software, but that's okay. We're going to tweak things later anyway. So the crosshairs object is obviously the crosshairs, but it's also the object which detects whether the player is tapped, is actually tapping on the screen or is tapping on the keyboard in my case. So I think I need to just turn up the volume as well because I did turn it down before. And let's make this 0.72 because that gunshot is going to be really loud in here. Okay, it's playing on awake, which is fine. Just turn that off. Play on awake just means whenever you press play, the first time it will just play. But we don't want that. We want it to start only when I press the gun trigger. Okay. Well, that delay actually felt alright because I suppose if the bullet was traveling a distance, or it's kind of like a delayed sound, or but okay. I quite like. I hope that's not too loud for everybody. I quite like that sound. It sounds distinct, and it kind of sounds. It kind of stands out. So I think that works quite well. Um, so the next thing what I want to do is kind of want to test. In fact, the body parts. What we want to do is change this to be um, 2 black squares instead of 2 white squares. And the reason that is obviously because the body is now black. And okay, so I think what would be more interesting to do is actually have these ones kind of spray out to the side more rather than sort of up and then down. Hmm. I'm still considering having them as physics objects, which is basically um, the they would act like real world objects where they sort of bounce on a flat surface. Like say if this was the head and it kind of bounced on the side onto a platform, and then it would look like more real. It would look like it was actual objects that had just been blown off something, which I think would be pretty cool. But let's just I'll consider that a kind of tweaking phase. So let's just see how we go on with the particle effect as it is right now. Um, hmm. Okay, let's just move this up to 4. Let's move the y velocity down to 1, and what we're going to do is we're not going to have such heavy gravity, I think. Let's try this as, I don't know, 8 maybe. Okay. And we want it to be the same size. We don't want because the squares of the head and the body of the character are both the same size. So we're going to keep it the same. And I think probably 0.8, 0.8 would be about right, maybe. Okay, a little bit smaller. 0.7, 0.7. Okay. The blood splat sound, we don't want that to play when it starts because that's a little bit annoying. Okay. And of course we want the arms as well, so I'm just going to create the arms. So blood spots, body parts, particles, body parts, and let's just call it body. And yeah, we'll use the prefab, that's fine. Like I see, this is again, this is not a tutorial, everybody. This is just me talking whilst I'm developing. But of course, anytime, guys, if there's anything that you see in these videos that you want me to explain a little bit more of, we'll be happy to arrange a tutorial video separately, and then we can point you towards it. So anything here that you want to learn about, please let us know, because at the moment what we're doing is, as we've just started our channel, we're actually making up these tutorials, but we really want people to tell us, hey, I'd like to know a little bit about this or a little bit about that. And obviously then we can kind of direct the tutorials a little better. So, okay, so let's go grey square. And these ones are a little bit longer, so how do we handle that one? How do we handle that one? Let me think. Because the squares have actually been... So what we could do is kind of stretch the particles, I think. Ooh, the problem is... maybe. Okay, well, let me just reduce the size a little bit first, because You see what's happening with the particles is they're kind of doing this, but in the direction of where they're going. But when the body explodes, we don't want that to happen really. So I think maybe if we take away the gravity, let's see they shoot straight up into the air, which obviously we don't want that. Let's just reduce this down to 0, and let's have a random y velocity of 4 as well. You see now the arms and the legs, the arms and the body could just burst out in any kind of direction. The bones could come downwards. That might work okay. The same with the body parts as well. That might work alright. Let's just crank this up to 12 a little bit and have these fly off the screen, fly off the screen, I should say. Okay, so 0.3, 0.3, make these a bit smaller. Okay, so the point is here, what we want to do with this particle effect is kind of give the impression that when the player shoots one of the character objects, that the body parts are all flying off and blood splattering and the bones are flying in the air, and you hear the splat sound, and I'm also going to add in a bit of a cheesy scream sound in there as well. I think that will kind of be an interesting part, and people would find that it kind of attracts a bit of attention, which is always which is a big part of marketing games, is kind of getting that viral, making it go viral. People passing to their friends is the strongest kind of referral that you can get, and so friends sort of saying, "Oh, check out this, this silly game or this interesting game, whatever," and then they'll download it as well. That's always the goal. So let's just quickly try this before I cut this video off and grab some food. So I'm starving. Okay. Alright, so... Okay. Alright, so let's just shoot this guy. Okay. Let's just try it again. You see, this will all be tweaked. This, of course, we're gonna play around with this and see how it goes. Oh, that was okay. I think that felt alright. It definitely looks a little bit more interesting with the bones and the head and the blood for sure. It's kind of distinct. Always save your scene and save your projects inside of Unity. You never know when something might crash and you might lose some stuff. I think it auto saves every now and then, but I try to make it a habit to do that. So anyway, I'm going to continue, grab some food, guys, and I'm going to come back soon and do another video. So stay tuned and watch out for the next video of the making of the game that I'm calling right now is Clear Shooting Sniper X, but it might be something else when it's released in the market. So, alright, stay tuned.